started there in sales. I was not doing social media. I couldn't sell anything. It's very hard to sell things with a high price tag. And I think the only deal I did actually cost the company about $30,000. So the joke was that I couldn't yeah, exactly. And the joke was that, that my only sale actually cost the company money. So very quickly I switched over to social.
But I don't think that we've had too many repair stops this season.
It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's kind of like it's also like if we're going to wreck, we're just going to do it big. So no reason to repair
Shout out Texas.
Shout out Texas.
Welcome to Backstretch Banter here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio Channel 90. My name is Brad Gillie, sitting in for Chris Childers, and the co-host this week, Elijah Burke, who is the Director of Social and Digital Content at RFK, and our special guest, Samuel Wright, the Jackman for the number 60 of Ryan Preece, maybe the most popular pit crew member here this week, especially after a big weekend at Nashville. Gentlemen, how are y'all today?
We're great. Doing good. Glad to have Sam here, man. You are the stud this week.
Super fantastic. Happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me on the show.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Let's start by reviewing NASCAR, or not NASCAR, but Nashville. Sam, let's start with you. Look, that number 60 team's just been moving up the standings all season long. A little bit of a hiccup on the racetrack, but you guys have been performing on pit road as well. So how was your Nashville? What's the review for that number 60 team?
Nashville was great. I feel like performing, we had our goals coming into the week. We have our goals coming in every week, but I think just executing, being smooth, coming out the gate and laying down a good stop. I'm pretty sure our first stop was a 9 or 8, low 9 or 8. And that's the way we want to start our day. So I think we executed throughout the day and felt pretty good. Wish, of course, our car had better luck on the track, but those weeks come, and it's just about how you prepare for the next race, the next stop, and forget about yesterday, good or bad. Forgetting about that and moving on with the next goal.
Yeah, we were talking to David Smith, our stats guy, just about we like to look at after the races for at least the social media side. How do we highlight the pit crew? And you guys, I think, ranked the 4th fastest of all the teams for average pit road. In Nashville, I think it was an 8.84, he said, was the fastest stop, averaging around a 9. And I think it was last week in Charlotte, you guys had like the fastest team for fastest pit stop, 4 tires for all 3 of our teams with an 8.47, I believe, the last stop of the day. Like man, for y'all to come together first time as a group this year and really just click those off is awesome. And he's like, yeah, we're probably going to get into the high 7s, maybe low 8s by the end of the year, which is crazy to think about. Do you guys think you're gonna get there if you keep at this pace?
I believe so. We've done that a few times in practice, and we've done it back-to-back stops in practice as well. So that's kind of built up our confidence at hitting low or 7s, high 7s. So we feel pretty confident about our ability to do it. It's just about coming together at the track, and every week we build that confidence as a team, building our confidence with Ryan as he's coming into the box. He's been doing a great job servicing us, and our behind-the-wall crew, everybody just buying in, even though we're the newest addition, the newest car to RFK, and just feeling like, no excuse. We can still come together and be a really, really good team.
For sure, for sure.
Amongst all the crews over at RFK, look, I'm sure you all want to see each other do well, but in the spirit of friendly competition, how nice is it to be able to beat your competitors? Is there any trash talking that goes on kind of within the group?
We all have it's funny because our different personalities show in different ways. And so some of us are more of the, the silent, just let the action speak, right? Let the stop speak. Some of us are the subtle under the table jabs. And then we have, at least one, every team has one, Kyle, who's very much in everybody's face, trash talking every opportunity that he can get. And so we love it. We balance each other out.
I feel like the overall vibe of the 60 team, all the teams are unique in their own great way. Like for us, we'll be around the 6 is like they're locked in, they're focused, they're serious, they're fun. The 17 has a different vibe about them. The 60 team, I feel like obviously you guys are locked in and focused, but just the energy and the chemistry being around not only the pit crew but the road crew, Derek, like what type of leader he's been for you guys. Like, can you touch on just your experience being with that team? Because I feel like being around you guys, it's just always fun, and everyone's got a smile on their face, and you guys are like, you almost feel like you're I don't know, you feel like you're doing better than your expectations to start the year as a pit crew and as a team overall, and that's kind of carrying this positive energy. Like, man, like we're exceeding what we expected.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal, and it makes a really big difference. The energy, how we engage with each other. I think our ability to really come together and unite. I think it can be easy for a team to feel like, okay, we have our pit crew, we have our driver, we have our engineers in behind the wall, we have our crew up top, and just being separated like that, and just sort of the respect of like my coworker, my fellow man, but really coming together and feeling like a unit. From Derek understanding, him having strategies for how the car is going to perform on the track, and then having trust in us, and even a desire for us to be able to go out and show what we can do. And so him putting us in good positions, finding that right balance with the car between its on-track performance and making it pittable for us, and then same way between us and Ryan, again, that trust, that trust factor. He's always asking, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And I catch him in the locker room, he's really eager, like, how was I stopping? How was I doing for you? And then, yeah, he calls us his gangsters, and I started calling him Kingpin. And we love each other, and we're really out there to compete together, and it shows.
Oh, I can't wait. We have him on every Monday night, Todd Gordon and I on the late shift, and Kingpin is definitely going to be coming out. So we'll
please.
All right. So Nashville had like a mix between caution flag pit stops, green flag pit stops, and all those things going on. I want to ask you about the caution flag ones first. We had a ton of cars on the lead lap. I mean, that meant like everyone was coming in. So, what do you think about with your job when you're running around the car, swinging that jack around, realizing that this isn't going to be half the field, it's probably going to be the whole field?
Yeah. I think that's an interesting question. I think that I've started to, I don't know, I think the difference is sometimes you have to find your car. Sometimes we're the only ones coming down pit road. Sometimes we're in the front and we see it immediately. And sometimes you're just looking and it's like, oh, there's our car. But again, developing that trust. I think there was one stop we were following in, I can't remember what team, but, just having to jump a gap, like shoot a gap. I only had to do that for the second time in Nashville in my career. But you get used to being out there, being over the wall, fast cars coming at you, and just having trust in Ryan. Again, he's going to get us in a good position where we can be successful. And so it's just about being locked in. And once you separate that mental barrier of practice to the racetrack, when you can really engage a race like this is just practice, that's when things start to click.
When do you guys think that first win's coming?
Soon. We got a taste of it back in Talladega, and it's only a matter of time. I mean, things keep coming together each week, putting ourselves in better position, and when we don't, even if we don't get the expected outcome, which is the win, I think we do a good job of learning the lessons that we need to make ourselves that much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and look, performance is there. Honestly, Talladega was almost unfortunate because you guys would be so much higher in the points had there not been the DQ at the end. But I love the way you talk about the crew together and the crew with Ryan and all of that. One of the things we often talk about, look, all of the teams literally nowadays do have the same parts and pieces. And it's not just the people that make a difference, but the collection of people, the chemistry and different things like that. How much fun are you able to have? And is that an important thing, Sam, to make sure that all you guys are having fun to kind of keep that momentum going?
Absolutely. Having fun is so important, especially when you think about we're out there 38 weeks of the year. That's a good bit of time spent at the track, and that's not even including practice. I think if you're not having fun, you're you're miserable. I don't know if there's a gray area. I'd have to talk to some other guys, but I think you're either having fun or you're not. And so we've really found a way to come together, be a team, enjoy the car rides, the moments in between, being behind the wall as we're preparing for the next stop, just traveling on the plane, all those things, team lunches, those things really build that chemistry and are what enable us to not respect each other, love each other, have fun, compete together, and go after it.
Yeah, I think you hit it. The culture, I feel like, that's been created not just in competition, but in our side of things, in the corporate division of RFK, it's all about finding people who are a right fit. When I'll give a small plug here, we just posted a listing to hire a social media manager here at RFK, and the thing that we look for, I think, in all positions is not just someone who can do the job, but someone who's a good fit, who you can have fun with, who you can enjoy traveling with, because these people become your family for 38 weeks out of the year, and they can be the best person ever, but if their attitude isn't good, or you all don't enjoy really being around each other, it can make things tough. And I think one thing we've really done well here, and I see it just coming down to you guys, like just the culture in the pit crew department, the culture with the road crews and everyone around it, like you just have, I feel like, a lot of positivity overall, and it really does make it fun to go to the racetrack, and like you get to compete with people who are more than just your coworkers, people who are your friends and encourage you and push you to be better.
Absolutely. The investments go beyond just the track, and it's a special thing.
For sure.
Yeah, it is. All right, so I'm curious, Sam, for you, night race, day race, what do you prefer? Like, to me, there are benefits to both, on my side, but do you have a preference as whether you got a night race or a day race?
That's so interesting. No, I mean, I've had more day races than night races, but night races, it's a different tone. It's a different energy. I think the benefits of those, depending on where we're at, is being able to make it to church on Sunday, which is kind of great with those night races. I will say, when we were coming down on one of our last stops, it was dark on pit road. I was trying to find my car, and looking down the line, I was like, okay, the sun has officially set. And so that was an interesting little twist. But yeah, looking out at the sky, it's dark, it's moody, it's kind of a cool experience. Maybe I'll say night races.
Do you enjoy longer races where you have kind of more opportunities for more pit stops? Like, the 600, you guys hit your best pit stop of the year is the last one. Like, you feel like you get more pit stops, more chance to get in a rhythm versus being more fatigued? Or what's kind of your favorite race to pit? What's that sweet spot for you in terms of, hey, I really get to show off my strengths where I'm in a good rhythm?
More is more, baby. More is more. And when it comes to those races, and you're right, like fighting fatigue, it is different from a practice where if we have a heavier day where we're running 10 stops or even more, that's all within an hour. Versus when you get a Charlotte race and you're trying to stretch that over a much longer period of time. What you're eating, remembering to eat something, your snacks, and hydrate, that becomes a really critical component of it.
When they bring Bojangles over to the pit box halfway through.
That was delightful. I'll run 13 stops every week for some Bojangles.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I always say the 600 is like literally the one race where I see not snacks being delivered to pit boxes, but like meals, We're out there so long. I'll tell you what, let's get a quick break out of the way. When we come back, Sam, we want to get to know you a lot more. We mentioned at the top of the show that viral social media post, and you have a really interesting story, and we wanted to do that. Brad Gillie sitting in for Chris Childers. We have Elijah Burke from RFK Racing. This is Backstretch Banter. Welcome back to Backstretch Banter, the show where we talk everything RFK. Brad Gillie sitting in for Chris Childers this week. We have Elijah Burke from RFK, and joining us, the Jackman for the number 60 Ford Mustang Dark Horse of driver Ryan Preece, Sam Wright. And Sam, this past week, we got to see a pretty viral social media post that came out with you reading a book sitting there on pit wall, and it certainly got a lot of people talking. Bozy Tadorevich, who really does a lot of posting about pit crews and a lot of insight about the sport, kind of helped tell your story just a little bit. But Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your journey was to get here to NASCAR. And maybe we might have to stop along the way because there are a lot of stops for you along the way here, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of stops and so many different layers. But if I had to chalk it all up to one word, it would be God. It would be this journey that He's put me on was unexpected. But when I look at the path, just undeniably, He had His hand all over this journey to me getting here. And so I'm grateful for that. But, it started in college. I was playing football in college. I actually didn't like football. I did not like football, but I was playing it, I had seen different ways that it had opened up, certain doors. And so kind of certain stops of the way, I would just kind of check in with God, like, hey, do I have to keep doing this? And him feeling like he was saying yes. So I just kept going with it. And the same was true when I was preparing for my pro day. I wanted to stop and I wanted to go do music. And I felt like he told me, hey, keep going for football. And I wasn't really sure where that journey was going to lead me. But through my sort of professional career with different leagues, I ended up home after a year in Atlanta, working at an architecture office, getting ready for an XFL tryout. And then I got an email from Brock Silvers here at RFK, and he was like, hey, we got your film. We got your name from those, some of the teams in those or professional football leagues.
Shout out Brock.
And then he's like, yeah, this is probably really random. You've probably never thought about NASCAR pit crews or how people get into that, but this is a little bit about it. Can you come up here and see the facility, see how you like it? And that was here we are.
Yet no doubt evidence of God's hand in your path for sure. I mean, I'm just going to speak from what I've seen. I know when you came to the team, and you were working with the 47 last year in the Cup Series, like I remember us just connecting. I'm like, man, this is like super nice and like humble Jackman who's just in here, and you're working hard. You're working kind of in silence almost, but then I see like on your Instagram, you're into like you're rapping, you're writing songs. Then I find out you can play 5 instruments. Then in the hauler, like every Sunday before the race starts, you're laying down in the hauler reading a book. And I'm like, my man, he's taking time to just like you're educating, you're doing something I just haven't seen pit crew members really do before, at least in my short time in the sport. And when I saw you reading on Sunday on the pit wall, I'm like, all right, this has to be a post. I've seen this every week for like 13 weeks this year, and I just put it up there, and I think the caption was something like, you got to pit a NASCAR race, but you got book club with the girlies tomorrow.
With the girlies.
Which that's kind of inspired by my wife because she is in a book club, and but obviously like, the boy book clubs too, for sure. And I'm telling, shout out boy book clubs, dude. And let me tell you, like, just the comments, like people are quote tweeting, like, I think the first thing I saw in here was "Wake up, world! Samuel has been him." Reading it, the Poppy War, amazing choice. I guess the author's name is Rebecca Kwong, which is RF Kwong. And they're like RFK times RF Kwong, and I was like, I didn't even realize that.
Look at that.
That's kind of fitting. So
potential collab,
maybe. If you're listening, I guess she's actually a pretty good author. I hadn't heard of her before. Mm-hmm. But kind of, I guess, talk about, you brought the books with you. You got the 1-year devotional, and then you also have the Poppy War. Like, what's the book been like for you? Like, what are you finding from it? Is there a next one you're gonna read? Like, I guess talk to the bookish people out there.
Yeah, I mean, the book is fantastic. I guess it would be considered historical fiction. Sorry for misquoting that. I would think it's historical fiction, which is different. I typically am very much like a pure fiction, hardcore fiction kind of guy. I love getting lost in different worlds outside of my own, different characters, different rules, So this one was when I found her first book, Babel, at Barnes & Nobles. It was kind of in the like popular reads, hot section, and I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I picked it up, sat down and read the first chapter, and I was like, okay, this is really different, and I'm open to different right now. So read that one. This one is, I mean, it's good. I think the characters, it's a different cultural read. And so I think that opens up like different characters, different way of thinking. I don't know that I see as much of myself in these characters. And that's cool. I kind of like it that I'm just seeing like whole different perspectives. And it's got some elements. It's really grounded because it is like historical fiction, but it's got some elements of mythology and folklore in it, which kind of gives it that fantastic, that quality to it.
What's the main storyline? Like, what's it about?
Yeah, so far this is about like a war refugee who comes from a small province, and she wants to get into a military academy to sort of escape her small town, and also she wants to I guess it's this journey of like proving herself, like taking control of her destiny. And so she has to take this test, though. It's this really hard exam, and only the top most elite scores are the ones who get into this academy, and it's free, it's paid for in that way. So she has to that's the only way, coming from not having a lot of money or options. That's kind of the only way for her to change the course of her life. And so she ends up, against all odds, taking this test and getting into the academy. And now she's starting this journey of, finding her way. I don't want to spoil too much. So like
if I start reading books, maybe that's the one.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool. All right, so I want to get back to college because you said something that fascinated me. Number one, college was Princeton, which is great, but you didn't like really playing football. So if you had your choice, what would you have rather have been doing instead of playing football?
Yeah, I think that I would have loved pursuing the music or some of the fine arts. I wish that I was a great drawer or painter. I wasn't. I had my moments of greatness, flashes, but then it would always dissolve back into stick figures at some point. And so I think that I was really interested in just art in general, music, dance. I ended up going with architecture, which some would consider a fine art. I like to consider a fine art. And yeah, I think that's where I would have ended up.
What do you play? Elijah mentioned you can play 5 instruments. What can you play, and what can you play the best?
Ooh, okay. So I started with the saxophone, and then went to violin, and then picked up the guitar, and I can play electric and acoustic. I don't count that, just say guitar. Piano, and then the recorder.
You're your own band. You could be your own band.
My own band. The recorder is an instrument. Everybody at home, it's an instrument. It counts. And I could play it pretty well. Bonus, like Guitar Hero, I count that one.
Legends
maybe
of Rock.
6. Mm-hmm. But those are the instruments I like to play.
That is
yeah.
fantastic.
How do you wind up? So if football wasn't your first choice, let's say you didn't like it, well, as soon as you leave college, then you go to play professional football. I mean, obviously this is part of God's path for you, but did you think to yourself that out of college that was going to be a path, or were you looking to do something different?
I didn't. It wasn't a serious thought of mine until my coaches, like my junior year, my coaches had some sort of an end of year review. And were telling me, okay, we think if you fix these areas, if you really hone in, you have a good shot of potentially going pro. And so, yeah, that was, sorry, can you remind me the question? I was answering. There's somewhere I was going with that.
Yeah, no, but again, like, if you're saying, played football in college, didn't really like it, but the next thing you know, you get out of college and you're still playing football,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it was really about falling in love with the process. It's like, okay, maybe I don't like football, but there are some elements I can really connect with, like the brotherhood, right? And then practicing. I was having conversation with my parents, a couple of my coaches in high school, and them telling me, it's like when God gives you a gift, use it, steward over it. And so seeing football not as this thing that I love, but maybe this is an opportunity for me to take what God's given me and just steward over it, treat it like my baby. this is my craft, this is my gift, and so I'm going to give it back to God by doing the best I possibly can at it. And that is what sort of changed my mind about football, and I began to literally fall in love with the process. I fell in love with practice. I fell in love with getting better, improving my craft, and I think those were root skills that I've been able to take into pit stops now, and loving the process.
That hit hard. So okay, let's say you didn't fall in love with the process and you were a fan of playing football and that was why you played football. Do you think that would have changed your career trajectory, but also B, how you approach like being on a pit crew? Because if you love the process, like it seems like it's pretty similar in terms of process. You have a team, you have your practices, you get to compete on a field with, a ton of other teams at the same time. Did that better prepare you coming over here, and how do you kind of take that into your career as a pit crew member?
Yeah, it did. It definitely prepared me. And also, I think it's a combination of a lot of little things that I kind of picked up throughout life. Like the very first time I saw a pit stop, I looked at it and was like, this looks like choreography. This looks like a dance. And so I think the two things you notice are the speed and the rhythm. It's like, okay, there's a rhythm, there's intentionality behind this. There's no wasted movements. Everybody has this job and assignment, and they're doing it at the same time, and it's a coordinated movement. And then the repetition of it. I did a little track and field as well, and so I was in the field events. I was a thrower, and so getting used to like repetition, honing in the little mechanics, right, the very small details. And then of course, the football, the mentalities that had prepared me, just the way God has used that to prepare me. I think it was a combination of a lot of different things that came together for me to be here and be able to be successful.
That's so cool. All right, are you recruited as a Jackman, or do you get recruited and sort of find your place? I mean, obviously you're built like a Jackman, but how does that process work of now you're coming over here to something maybe you didn't know before?
Yeah. So I think originally they recruited me as a Jackman, and then a few months into my career here, they also wanted me to learn how to carry. And that was like, you want to be versatile. You want to be able to, you're going to fit in one of these kind of frames. And so we'll see which one you can do better. And I remember kind of being upset about it. And I think it was because from what they had told me, knowing nothing about the sport, they were like, yeah, Jackman is harder. And so in my mind, I was like, give me the hardest thing you got, And so now I love to, like, sometimes I will go down and practice and just carry for our upcoming guys or for somebody else. It's kind of funny how I flip-flopped. Brock had to yank my ear to get me to carry, and now I fight him on it. Like, let me get a couple reps in. Yeah.
So obviously being a Jackman or a tire carrier, they both require a lot of strength. That's what they look for, I feel like, in both of those athletes. I heard a rumor when I was watching Nick Patterson, Jackman in the 17, bench upwards of like 350, maybe close to 4. And he said you can bench over 4. Is that correct? Is there truth to that rumor? And what is your personal best?
The rumors are true. I think personal best is maybe like 415 for 2.
Oh my gosh. That's more than that. It's about 3 of me. Goodness gracious. That's insane.
Elijah and I aren't quite there yet. But let's do this. Let's get a quick break out of the way. We have a lot to talk about. We're headed to Michigan this week. A lot of really cool things. Brad Gillie sitting in for Chris Childers. We have Elijah Burke from RFK and Sam Wright, the Jackman for Ryan Preece's number 60 team. We've got more Backstretch Banter coming up right after this. Welcome back to Backstretch Banter here on Sirius XM NASCAR Radio, the show where we talk all things RFK. Brad Gillie along with Elijah Burke. We have Sam Wright, the Jackman for the number 60 of driver Ryan Preece. And look, we just learned a lot about Sam. I don't think we learned everything. Like, I think you're going to have to come on this show a lot because you're very interesting. But Elijah, let's switch gears just a little bit and talk about you guys, because how we learn about people like Sam and a lot of the other things that sort of happen behind the curtain, if you will, comes from a great digital and social team at RFK. So tell us about how you got where you are and You just got a little promotion too, didn't you?
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, be directing the social and digital over here now as social media manager before. So, again, shameless plug that we're hiring a new social media manager over here. But yeah, I grew up in Rochester, New York, and always loved racing. So, when I found an opportunity to kind of work at what was Chip Ganassi Racing's NASCAR team at the time, I took it and moved down here to Rochester, or down to Charlotte, from Rochester. Started there in sales. I was not doing social media. I couldn't sell anything. It's very hard to sell things with a high price tag. And I think the only deal I did actually cost the company about $30,000. So the joke was that I couldn't yeah, exactly. And the joke was that, that my only sale actually cost the company money. So very quickly I switched over to social as like a hybrid and then full-time. And when they sold the track house, I saw this opening here. And I'm like, it's right down the road. We're not even a mile away. It seemed like a great place to work. I got to meet Kevin Woods. I got to meet Brandon Lee over here. Thomas interviewed me and everything. And I'm like, this is a good culture fit. And I don't even know if I have a job right now, so I might as well take it. And we've been here ever since, working with Thomas Burfield, and Jay Lochner just joined our team recently. And yeah, it's fun, man. Like to tell the stories is and combined branding and social media, driver personalities is kind of all I feel like I was built to do in the sport. So it's a lot of fun.
Sam, you want to jump in? Do you have any questions for Elijah? You get to see.
Pressure's on.
Yeah. I know. Well, congratulations again on the promotion. I know that whoever we bring in, they've got some big shoes to fill.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. And I mean, what do you think that you're most excited about in this newest role for you?
For me, just having a good team to work around. We already do, and I think we got such a creative, free spirit type of group here that we just have fun. There's no fear of someone saying this is a stupid idea if you throw it out. I mean, Thomas can attest to it. We shoot memes to each other via text all the time. I mean, Ryan Preece is so ambitious about getting stuff about him for our social and his social, and what do you guys think of this? What do you guys think of that? And it could be 10 p.m. at night and he's sending a TikTok and he's like, what do you guys think? And we'll be like, yes or no, or hey, can you do this? And we can execute it for you, or you can do it. I think we've had a reel we worked on with him at Talladega where it was like, when you realize your boss is following you on social media and all the pictures are you like, oh, I love SMT data and I'm first one at the track, and oh, like no lunch break, I'll just drink a Celsius. Like we just sent him a list of photos to take and put it all together, and he's like, can we do more of this? And I'm like, yeah, we can, as much as you want to do. Like if you're going to buy in, we're going to help you out. So that stuff is awesome, and Brad gets it. He our team here lets us do what we need to do, and Chris is super awesome with helping out with that. I feel like we need to tell Chris's story a little better. He has a bajillion farm animals like no one knows about, and we're going to get there one day and tell everyone, but it'll be a minute.
Can we bring one in to the to the building? A couple of sheep in here, maybe.
I mean, he's got a peacock over there. He says, like, we can bring. Goodness. It could probably be anything that went on Noah's Ark. We probably can find over there. To be honest.
I've known Chris since he was like 12 or younger, and he is awesome. His family's awesome, but he used to be just this small little blonde-headed kid who was very, very quiet. And all of this is just funny to see how well he's grown and blossomed. All right, so Elijah, have you had the call yet of the, man, you got to take that post down? Or how many thoughts go through your head and then you think, if I actually post that, then I'm going to get that call?
I've had a lot of take this down posts. They've actually dwindled. If you looked at it like a line graph, it's definitely gone down, which is good.
Do you think that's their temperament getting better, or are you just getting
I think listen, I have a theory. It's a combination of things. The one main thing is that social media is getting more and more edgy. You just like, there's more allowed, there's more content. So with more content, there's sometimes less of a chance of your stuff being seen or magnified as much, because there's so much. You get on social media, it's like going down the Vegas Strip now. Like everything's pulling for your attention, and it's like lights everywhere, overstimulation. You're like, I can't, like, this is too much. But I will say when I first started at Ganassi, there was plenty of, I'll just send it, and someone will be like, whoa, you got to take this down immediately. That takes this person off, it takes that person off, like, we can't have this. And I'm like, oh, I mean, these other 6 brands posted it, like, I thought it'd be okay. Here, now that I've learned a little more, and I mean, Thomas and I have had a handful of texts, they haven't came recently, but there's some stuff we've posted recently where it's like, I mean, we had a post the other day that he came up with where it was the finger pointer for the Charlotte wreck we put on Instagram, and I'm like, I don't know, man. And then, of course, you post it, and it blows up, and everyone's like, we need a raise for the social admin, and you blah, blah, blah. Like, the just overflowing comments. And I'm like, all right, well, that ends up being the best content. When you're worried about it, it ends up being the best content every time, as long as you don't cross the line. But the line keeps getting pushed further and further. So, yes, the calls have definitely came, Brad, but they're less and less. And if my boss is listening, hopefully they continue that way.
I love it. All right, but there are other things people don't see. You know, you can take the business side of it. You know, for example, let's go back to RFK Fan Day a couple of weeks ago, and there's the Fan Day. There's an announcement with a new sponsor, Trimble. You know, you have to make sure you get all that. But then there are the fun things as well. Ryan Preece and the commitment box there at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and then he shows up with Irish Spring on his car and with a nice, cleanly painted fan box the next week in the post there, or the Band-Aid Bear Bond, which I thought was like one of the coolest things. Not that I wanted to see y'all's car get wrecked, Sam, but I would have loved to have seen that Band-Aid Bear Bond come out at the All-Star race. I mean, there's a lot more that goes into it than what we. Right?
For sure, yeah. That's the fun side of what we do is, we have partners that pay us, and we exist because of them, and we continue to exist because of them, and we really need to activate on that stuff. So, like Band-Aid, for instance, you mentioned, they had a small logo placement on Chris Buescher's car, but talking to the agency that works with them, they have wanted to figure out some way to put a Band-Aid on, like, they were asking for a pit practice car, like just something where the car is damaged and they put like a decal on there and call it a day. And I'm like, we have Bear Bond, like we could make this into something bigger. You never want to see your car wrecked, but to be prepared is enough in itself. So I talked to the car chief on the 17, and he was all for it. Go buy this Bear Bond. Print shop here made some decals. Band-Aid was all over it, and we made some content that transcended outside the NASCAR community, which is always my goal on stuff like this, because that's how you get new audience, new viewers, new followers. That was so much fun. I've never wanted a car to not wreck, but just get enough damage to where I'm just imagining these guys putting a giant Band-Aid on a car in a pivotal moment during the All-Star race. And of course, and like, it's the All-Star race, like it matters, but if we have a bad day, it's not like we're going to get any more points, so like they were a little bit more willing to play ball with us. So that stuff's fun. The Ryan Preece stuff, like, again, with the choose cone thing, I'm glad he's a good sport on all that stuff. He has a sense of humor. The Daytona flip, he'll get super passionate and angry in the moment, and I love him for that. He's a fierce competitor. But afterwards, he likes to have fun with it and doesn't shy away from it, and I think that allows us to do some fun stuff with him, and I think the fans love it too, is the reception we've seen so far. So you got a good driver, and your pit crew coach helped come up with that Irish Spring idea. He was with the choose cone on in Charlotte. He was cooking that day for sure.
Sam, I am curious. Speaking of the Bear Bond, a lot of people see people in uniforms going over the wall. And on a normal stop, that's all of you guys, highly skilled athletes that, change the tires, fuel the car, and everything. Do you in your role ever get involved in things like the crash repair or different things like that? How does that work?
Yeah, so we do strategize who's going to go over the wall, who's going to stay back, because we can still only have 5 over, even on a repair stop. And so typically we haven't had any where I think most of the repair stops I go over, I'll jack the car because we got to check either suspension thing somewhere in the fender well or the wheel well. And Yeah. So I'm out there. I like, I guess I'm considered a mechanic too. But I don't think that we've had too many repair stops this season.
It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. It's kind of like it's also like if we're going to wreck, we're just going to do it big. So no reason to repair
Shout out
the car.
Texas.
Shout out Texas. But it's really great when we can keep all of Ryan's wheels on the ground.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
That's really cool. I love it, though. A lot of things you don't see behind the scenes. Let's do this. Let's come back. We got Michigan coming up this week. It is a big, big deal for RFK in so many different ways. We'll talk about that, some of the things we can look forward to, the uniqueness and all of that. And we'll do that when we come back here on Backstretch Banter. Welcome back to Backstretch Banter. We are headed to Michigan this weekend. Brad Gillie sitting in for Chris Childers. We have Elijah Burke, and we have, I keep wanting to call you Sam Wilson. That is my stepson's name. So Sam Wright. It's one of those that keeps popping out of my mouth. But anyway, Sam is the Jackman for the number 60 with Ryan Priest at RFK. So Sam, now, you know, Michigan's big for like every reason with RFK. It's where Jack is from. It's where the manufacturer's cup gets passed around. We know Edsel Ford, that's a big, big thing that they want to put a Ford in victory lane. And by the way, we know RFK is pretty darn good there. I know that Ryan doesn't have any RFK stats at this point at Michigan, but both Brad and Chris do. And in the next gen car, they're both in the top 3 of both average finish and points collected. So zero pressure for you guys at Jack Roush's home track, right?
None at all. Now I'm aware of the stakes, but no, I mean, pressure makes diamonds, as they say, the old adage. So bring it on, Michigan. We're coming for you.
Well, that's a good thing. All right, so Michigan is a track that's known for very fast lap time, or very fast speeds, I should say. A lot of lap time when it comes to pit stops and all of that. That can be a crucial thing because even though it's kind of a wide track, we all know that the one place where you can make up a lot of ground is on pit road. So, you know, again, this is a pressure-packed situation, definitely one you're looking up for. But can you tell us anything? Is there anything specific in pit stop practice that might relate to Michigan?
Yeah, in practice, we're going to, I think when we practice tomorrow is where we'll do like our scenario stuff. We will have our road crew down there with us, and that's when we'll sort of run the playbook, if you will, of the different types of stops that we're going to see at Michigan. So that'll be a surprise to me. I'll find out tomorrow.
I think one thing that I kind of wanted to ask of you is, I know you talked about coming from football over to being an architect, and then in NASCAR working on a pit crew now. When you look, I don't know how many years down the road for you, hopefully it's many, many years. What do you see yourself doing after you've, exited the sport as a pit crew member? Is there any aspirations that you have?
Absolutely. I've been thinking about this for quite some time, actually. And just want to be a stay-at-home husband, trophy husband, trophy dad, and
the ultimate goal.
Just absolutely vacuum and do dishes and cook. Wear my apron around the house, just the apron. And so I need to marry rich, an entrepreneur, something like that, and live out the rest of my days.
Man knows what he wants. Okay, that's half the battle.
Loading up Elijah with all the social posts that he's probably going to have to take down. So
that's right. That's right. I love that answer. That is stay-at-home dad. I love that. I hope the best for you in that.
Please, fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Have you ever wanted to write yourself? Being such a reader, have you ever wanted to, come up with some ideas?
It's so interesting. I've been told I should write a book. Some people have suggested a biography, tell a little bit of the story. I think that if I wrote, it'd definitely be a creative writer, maybe poetry. I like writing the lyrics to my own songs. So somewhere in that space, I definitely love using my words to tell stories. I think I'd be a storyteller, whether that's long or short form.
Love that.
What kind of songs do you write? Like what's the style of music?
I've been all over with my own stuff, like rock, R&B, hip hop. I have some country songs. They're in the vault. I don't know if those will ever see the light of day.
Oh, come on.
I don't know about that. And then I also write with a band, The Solid Few. That's what we're called. We're on streaming platforms. Shameless plug. Y'all look us up. But
is that you with all your instruments? That's the band?
It's I have some other people who play instruments too.
Okay.
And so some friends that I've known since high school and even middle school. And so every time I'm in Georgia, we'll run out of studio and we will make music together, all of it from scratch, every instrument from scratch, which is really cool.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. There's a lot to you. I've been enjoying learning a lot about you more than I knew walking into the show, which is awesome. I think you're one of the most unique pit crew members on pit road in the best way possible, and definitely a great addition to our team. You guys are freaking killing it on pit road, and we're not even halfway in the season, right? So
we appreciate that. And listen, it takes a village. You've been a huge advocate and friend since I got to this, to this company. So getting to know you, talking to you, encouraging me not just on pit road, but also with my music. You've been a big fan, listening to songs, and snippets that I've dropped. So I appreciate everything about you, Elijah.
Heck yeah, man. Do good work. I love it.
Sir.
That's very cool. Hey, what did you curious, now that you've been doing this for a while, Sam, what did you think this job was going to be versus what the reality of this job is?
Ooh, if I could go back to my younger self, I don't know what I was expecting. I think in the beginning there was, I got a lot of warnings, like, okay, you're going to have to get used to jumping out in front of this car. You're going to have to get used to, pit road. A lot of cars coming at you is going to be a lot different from practice, all of these different just kind of warning labels. And then I think my goal really was to just come in and just pick it up, just give it my all. Same approach, just give it my all, learn what this is about, and just try to enjoy it. And again, feeling like this was the path that Jesus just had for me to walk to get here, I think gave me a lot of confidence in I can do this and I'm just going to figure it out. And slowly over time, I guess you do pick it up, and it's, I think, interesting looking at my footage from the beginning when I first came into the sport, and I was like, that was me. And it's like when you look at yourself in the mirror every day, you don't notice how much you grow because it's so subtle. But these big leaps from almost being at my second year in the sport this September to the beginning, it's just kind of phenomenal transition.
Yeah, I think you mentioned jumping out in front of a car. I believe it was Sean Pete when I was at Ganassi. He was the pit crew coach over there, and he would describe pitting race cars as, hey, go out into traffic on I-77 and put your heels on the edge of the highway, basically, and let traffic like whip along your back there. And he's like, that's what it's like to kind of stand there. Is there ever a moment, are you just always locked in and in the zone where you're like, I'm not thinking about that. Once I go over the wall, I am focused. And I think you have to be, right, focused on my task? Or is it ever like you've had a close call and you're like, that was a reality check of there's other cars out here doing this. Someone's right around your back, or you get nipped by a fender or something? Because I feel like we see it all the time on some of the GoPro replays that I'm just like, that's just insane how close it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. You're kind of always hoping it's not me. I don't want it to be anybody, but you're definitely like, God, please.
I bet.
I mean, not today.
No, not today.
And so it can be, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what you equate it to. Maybe like getting on a roller coaster and you have those intrusive thoughts that maybe there's a loose bolt and this is going to turn into Final Destination. And you don't want that to happen, but you're still going to just get on it and
not watching Bloodlines.
No. And so it's kind of like that. I jump out there. I have had some close calls. I've had, just 2 weeks ago, I think Tiggs, my carrier, had gotten clipped by, a car coming in, knocked the tire out of his hand. I'm doing my stop, trying to go through my routines. All of a sudden, Tiggs is just almost in the tire well, and it's like, how did you get here? And it's not until after you go back and review the stop, it's like, oh, dude, you got hit. I didn't even know what happened. So they say it just comes with the job. My teammates have told me it's not a matter of if but when. You just end up on the hood. So one day, I guess, will be my day.
Hopefully it makes a spectacular social post for Elijah and the team, and you're okay. Hey, before we get out of here, you mentioned your band again, and you got music out there streaming. I just want to throw that out there again for anyone who might not have picked it up. What's the name of it?
Yeah, so the name of our band is The Solid Few, THE, The Solid Few.
Solid.
On all streaming platforms.
And can you find your stuff on streaming platforms as well, your solo stuff?
Yes, my solo stuff, I'm Way, WAYE, Way.
Love it. Love it. Some good stuff if anyone wants to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you guys going over the wall, not just this weekend at Michigan, but, Mexico City and Pocono, Atlanta, your hometown, and all of that beyond that. So really appreciate it. It's awesome getting to know you and know your story.
Thank you so much, Brad, and thank you, Elijah. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everybody, for having me on the show. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Yeah, Elijah, enjoyed hanging out with you. This was a lot of fun. Appreciate you guys letting me in this week as well. So look forward to the next one as well.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brad. True professional as always. We enjoy having you on.
All right, there we go for Sam Wright, for Elijah Burke. My name's Brad Gillie, sitting in for Chris Childers. Headed off to Michigan this week. And on Backstretch Banter next week, we look forward to talking about an RFK trip to Victory Lane. We'll see how that goes, but we appreciate you for tuning in.